Hey guys, it is February the 11th, 2025, and I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day so far today. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about pancreatic health and a pancreatic healthy diet and, what you can do to help yourself along if you find yourself with pancreatitis. One of the subscribers, when I was replying to the comments yesterday, and her comment was telling me that her mother has been dealing, I guess, with the after effects of pancreatitis for quite some time now. She's having some problems, especially with the foods that she's trying to consume and stuff like that, and it's caused her some issues. In the comment, I just told her, it's way too much for me to type out in this comment here. So I told her that I would just go ahead and do a video about this today and discuss it, and told her to look out for this video. So for whoever that is out there, I can't remember your name, I'm sorry, but for that person, I hope this video helps you and your mother out. So pancreatitis, the first thing I wanted to add about this is that it's not all caused by alcohol consumption, although 76% or something like that is majority of the cases of pancreatitis. It's like 76% are caused by alcohol consumption. Another thing I wanted to add really quick on here too is kind of like a word of caution. Drinking heavily can definitely cause pancreatitis, and it's not uncommon. This is a very common thing that happens to people that drink heavily, and it can either be binge drinking, it can be just excessive daily drinking, it can come from not drinking that much at all, it can come from one night of heavy drinking. It all just depends, but alcohol does cause pancreatitis, and like I said, this is not rare. I have known so many people who have ended up with pancreatitis. I've known so many people who have had pancreatitis multiple times, and they're all friends of mine. They all ended up in the hospital for at least a week when they got it. Pancreatitis is not something to fool around with. This is very serious. It can take your life. And it is not a comfortable feeling when you end up with it. It is very, 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 very painful. One of the most painful things I've ever been through, and I've spoken to so many people who have had pancreatitis. They all say the same thing. There's multiple people here on this channel who have had pancreatitis, multiple people here who have chronic pancreatitis. I have chronic pancreatitis myself, which I'm going to go into that here in just a little bit and kind of talk about the differences between chronic and acute pancreatitis and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm just going to give like a quick synopsis on pancreatitis, what causes it. And then I'm going to go into like what kind of diet to eat with it and talk about my experience with pancreatitis, what I've done to help myself, things, that have worked for me. But, like I said, I'm going to get into that in just a minute. But, once again, not all pancreatitis is caused by alcohol consumption, but majority of it is. There is an acronym that basically gives you all the reasons that you can end up with pancreatitis. And what the acronym is which is kind of funny, that it goes along with this, is I get smashed. So I get smashed is the acronym for all the different reasons that you can end up getting pancreatitis. And I'm going to go into it right now. So the I stands for idiopathic. The G stands for gallstones. And the gallstones, what ends up happening is the gallstones can fall down from the gallbladder, drop into the pancreatic duct, and then clog it. Ethanol or alcohol, trauma. And I was talking about this recently in another video that I did, that I was in the recovery room after having an ERCP done, and the gentleman across from me ended up getting his pancreatitis from a bicycle accident. So, like car accidents, stuff like that, trauma to the pancreas can cause pancreatitis. Steroids, mumps. The A stands for autoimmune. The S stands for scorpion sting. The H stands for hypolipidemia. the E stands for ERCP, which is one of the procedures that they do after you end up with pancreatitis. Well, they don't always do an ERCP, but you end up a lot of times having to have them done. And then the D stands for drugs, and that could be all kinds of different kinds of drugs. The ERCP one is kind of scary because you go into have work done on your pancreas, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go in there because your pancreatic duct will end up getting strictures in it. I've had that happen with me. My pancreatic duct was completely closed off. I ended up with pancreatitis back in the spring of 2023. It was right before I posted my very first video. We had gone to Disney World together, and we were supposed to go to Disney World the October before, but I ended up in the hospital with pancreatitis, so we had to reschedule for that spring. They wouldn't give us our money back, and we ended up going down there that spring. I don't know if it's because I overdid myself. I was eating some greasy food while we were down there. That could have been part of it. It could have been, a bunch of different things that caused it. But when I got home, I ended up getting really sick and ended up right back in the hospital with pancreatitis again, and then had to have a bunch of ERCPs after that. But my point is that I ended up with a total blockage. I was in the hospital, and here at a local hospital, and they did a CAT scan and sent the CAT scan down to my pancreatic doctor down at MUSC, and he immediately said, you need to come straight down because your pancreatic duct is completely closed off. And they said they had to do an emergency surgery. I went down there and had to wait a few days, but then they ended up putting stents into my pancreatic duct to open it back up. And then that went on for like a whole year of procedures, one after another. They were in there placing stents in the pancreatic duct, and they were building them up. I think they got up to a total of 4 stents to open that hole, and then they ended up removing them, and it stayed open from, after that. I haven't had any issues, knock on wood. But anyway, so let's get into it. So once again, there's acute and chronic pancreatitis, and acute basically is just like a one-off kind of pancreatitis, and then the chronic just goes on, for ages. You basically have it for the rest of your life. The acute can be worse majority of the time pain-wise, but the chronic is a little bit less, but the duration lasts a lot longer. Another thing about this too that I put here in my notes is that I wanted to add to this is, I just want to make sure that everybody understands this, that, excessive alcohol consumption, moderate alcohol consumption, binge drinking, all that can cause pancreatitis. And when you end up in the hospital with pancreatitis, it's not like you just get to come, you spend a week in the hospital, and then you're healed and you come home and everything's honky-dory. It doesn't work that way. You're in the hospital for a week. You come home, and we're talking about another month or 2 until you're really back to yourself again. You're going to be extremely tired. You're not going to feel good. You're going to be nauseous. You're not going to have an appetite. Your stomach's going to be wrecked all the time. You're going to be trying to experiment with different foods to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. I've got a list of stuff here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. You're just going to have to play around with different foods and see what works. Now, there are some guidelines of stuff that you really want to avoid, but once again, there's going to be different things that you're going to find that are really going to upset your pancreas, and some things that you're going to be completely fine with. And that's one of those things that I've had to do over the past couple of years, experiment with all kinds of different foods until I've basically found the diet that works for me personally. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I pretty much stick to that diet for the most part. It's boring, extremely boring. And I'm a foodie. I didn't become a chef just because. I really enjoy food. I like cooking food. I like tasting different things. And there's a lot of foods I can't eat any longer. And like I said, I'm going to go into the different foods that you got to really stay away from. And a lot of those foods are the really good foods. Those are the ones that we really enjoy eating. And I just have to stay away from them now. It's just not worth the pain that comes along with it, because it is. And there was one time, this was, right after I'd gotten sick and had gotten out of the hospital. It was the summertime after that. I'd gotten out of the hospital right at the beginning of June. It was like June 2nd or something like that when I got home from the hospital. And like 2 months after that or something like that, the night before I had an appointment with my GI doctor, I had a couple chicken wings. And it was like only like 2 or 3 chicken wings, or maybe 4. I can't remember, but it was not very many. I ended up getting extremely sick because of that. And when I went to go see my doctor the next day, I was telling him about it because he was asking me, how's the pain? And I told him that I had really bad pain the night before and was having some bad problems that day. And he said, well, what did you eat last night? And I told him chicken wings. And he said, you can't eat that kind of stuff anymore, man. You just can't. He said, I know how good they are. I like chicken wings too, but you can't eat chicken wings anymore. I mean, you got to stay away from stuff like that. And, I hadn't really spoken with a nutritionist at this point. Nobody had really gone into detail about foods to stay away from, foods that I could eat. But right after that, he set me up with a nutritionist, and I spoke with them, and they went over everything with me. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about today. The things that I've learned after speaking with my doctor, things I've learned after my experience with pancreatitis. And like I said, going over some of the causes and stuff like that of it. But once again, when you get home, it's not like, you get out of the hospital and everything's cured. It takes a while to recover from this. So if you have ended up with pancreatitis here recently and you're still dealing with the after effects, some symptoms, stuff like that, just hang on. It does take some time for your pancreas to kind of settle down, you to get your energy levels back. I'll never forget my doctor telling me, I was about to go home from the hospital, and my doctor asked me what I did for a living, and I told him I had my own business, which was pretty labor intensive. And he just looked at me and said, you're not going to be able to do that for like a couple months, man. I'm sorry, but you're just not. You're going to have to find something else to do at your time. And I just went back and started doing it anyway. I didn't care. I pushed my way through it. I forced myself to go back to work. And I continued to work for the rest of that summer until the end of September of that year. That was in 2022. And that's when I ended up back in the hospital again. Long story. But I almost passed away that time, and then they basically told me, like, you gotta stop. You can't do this kind of stuff anymore. You can't do that labor-intensive work any longer, and I haven't done it since. It was just way too much for me to be doing, and I pushed myself way too hard. I didn't listen to the doctors. I just went straight back to work and just pushed myself way too hard. And then, like I said, ended up back in the hospital. I was throwing up blood and all that stuff. And that time, that was the sickest I had ever been, and came so close. So when you first get out of the hospital, or while you're in the hospital, one of the things they're going to do, when you get to the hospital, because if you get pancreatitis, you need to go to the hospital. I had pancreatitis 30, 40 times before I'd ever even gone to the hospital. And the only reason I went that time is because I was puking up coffee grinds, which I didn't realize was blood. And I had gotten so weak I couldn't even walk anymore. But I'd had pancreatitis multiple times before that and just stopped drinking. And I would get better. And then I'd go right back to drinking after about a week, because I fooled myself into thinking that I could control it this time, which never worked out. But, my point is that, when you end up in the hospital with pancreatitis, one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to tell you you can't eat or drink anything. They want to give your pancreas a break. So and that means no water, no food, nothing. They call that MPO in the hospital. It's nothing by mouth. So you're not allowed to have anything to eat. And one of the most important things that they can do for you when you end up with pancreatitis is one of the reasons that is so important to go to the hospital if you have pancreatitis. I cannot stress this enough for you guys. I understand going to the hospital isn't cheap. It's very expensive. You're going to end up with a big bill. But what's your life worth to you? this can be life-threatening. One of the most important things they can do for you at the hospital is put you on an IV. You need fluids. You can't drink fluids. They want to give your pancreas a break. That's basically what you're doing, is you're going on a pancreatic rest, and you can't eat or drink anything. But they need to continue to be able to give you fluids. So they're going to put you on an IV. You're going to get multiple bags. That really, really helps. Not only for you to heal from the pancreatitis, but it also helps with the pain. It's going to help with the inflammation in the pancreas, getting those fluids. So I can't stress enough that please go. If you feel like you're in the middle of pancreatitis, please go to your hospital. And it doesn't take them long to discover if you have pancreatitis or not. They do a quick blood test. They'll take a look at a couple of your numbers, your lipase numbers, stuff like that. And one of the things that they're going to do right after that is they're either going to do like a sonogram, or they're going to have you just go ahead and do a CAT scan. And I'm going to get into that in just a minute, but anytime I've ever had pancreatitis, I went to the ER that they found out that I had pancreatitis within 5 minutes. I mean, it's that quick that they can discover it. So, like I said, at first, they're not going to let you eat or drink anything. But when they finally do tell you that you can eat or drink, you're going to have to be really careful. But they're basically going to have you on like a broth diet. So they're going to give you like chicken broth, beef broth, stuff like that, popsicles, water, Jello, stuff like that. And that's basically all they're going to let. And they're going to want to see how you handle that food first. Are you going to be able to hold it down, all that kind of stuff? That's going to be the important part. So what is pancreatitis like? Well, it's, severe pain, abdominal pain. You're going to get a lot of pain in your back. And every single time I've ever had pancreatitis, it's in the stomach. It's going to be right there in the center or the left-hand side of your stomach, right underneath the rib cage, or right in the center, and then it's going to radiate to your back. And I'm talking about the kind of pain. If you've never had pancreatitis, it's going to be a pain that you've never experienced before. And I'm telling you, it is very bad. I'm talking about flopping all over the place, fast heart rate, vomiting, and a low-grade fever. Like I said, they can do a blood test. They're going to take a full blood count. They're going to look at your amylase numbers, white cell count. They can do something called CRP, which looks for the level of inflammation. They're going to check your urea level, albumin, and they're going to check your blood glucose. I went to the doctor one time in pancreatitis, and he said, before you leave, because he told me, I think you just got a stomach bug. He said, but before you go, let's just do a quick blood test real quick, and then I'll send you on your way. And I sat there and waited. They took my blood. I waited just a couple minutes. The doctor came back with a little piece of paper. I'll never forget it. And it was just this little ripped off piece of paper, and the paper said like 450 or something like that on there. And he handed it to me. And I asked him, what is this? And he said, that's your glucose level right now. And I was like, okay. He said, you need to go to the emergency room. Pretty sure you're in the middle of pancreatitis. Your glucose levels are way too high right now. And sure enough, went to the hospital and was in the middle of pancreatitis. Like I said, they can do an ultrasound, CAT scan, and they're going to look for necrosis, abscesses, fluid collection, things like that. And they're going to check the inflammation of your pancreas. Those pseudocysts are collections of fluid. I've had tons of pseudocysts. They've had to go in there and drain them multiple times, put stents in them that drained into my stomach and all this kind of stuff. Just gross stuff that you don't want to have to deal with. Like I said, there's two types of pancreatitis. There's acute and then there's chronic. The acute is, you get sick one time. It's very bad pain, but you get over it. The chronic is, it goes on for a long period of time. Extended pain going on for long periods, fibrosis, reduced function of the pancreas, reduced endocrine function or diabetes, damage to the ducts or strictures, which, I've had that multiple times. And then what ends up happening is that pancreatic juice. And the pancreatic juice gets blocked into the pancreas. It can't escape, and then it starts to auto-digest the pancreas, causing a lot of problems there. And then you end up with formation of abscesses or pseudocysts and stuff like that. One of the things they can do for chronic pancreatitis is they can check your enzyme levels, and what they have to do is they have to do a stool sample to do that. And they can do enzyme replacement therapy. And what they're going to be looking for too is like greasy stools, and the oily or greasy stools. They're going to look for tell you to look and see if there's like oil in the toilet, on the water after you go to the bathroom, things like that. One of the things that's very important about this, and it's really gross, is that you have to keep a really close eye on your feces after you go to the bathroom every day. There's a lot of things you need to look for. If you see anything weird, pale, oily, greasy stools, all that kind of stuff, then you probably need to go back to the doctor. But there's going to be a reduction in absorption from that, malnutrition because of that, something that I've dealt with for a very long time, and I'm actually starting to feel like I'm getting better from it. But they're going to do like ERCPs to place stents, pain management, things like that, in order to address the chronic pancreatitis. Once again, the acute pancreatitis is, they're kind of like a one-off. You get pancreatitis, you're in a lot of pain, and but you do get better from it. Sorry, I'm flipping through my notes. So when you end up with pancreatitis or pancreatic problems or any of that kind of stuff, what kind of diet, now that we've talked about, what causes pancreatitis and all that kind of stuff, what kind of diet do you want to eat? Well, one of the biggest things that you're going to want to look for, and this goes for chronic pancreatitis or acute pancreatitis, this diet that I'm going to be speaking about right now, but this is stuff that I've pulled offline. This is stuff that I've gained knowledge from just from my own experience, or speaking to the nutritionist, all this kind of stuff. I've spoken with so many doctors because of this. I have dealt with this so many times. I've dealt with it for a couple of years of having chronic pancreatitis now. I have played around with a lot of different foods, trying to eat different things, and some things have caused me some serious problems, where I thought that after eating them that I was going to have to go to the hospital after eating certain foods because my pancreas hurt so bad. I got bad inflammation. My stomach hurts so bad, and I would tell my wife, like, I think we might have to go to the doctor tomorrow. And then I would end up waking up the next morning and I would be okay, but then I would tell myself I'm never touching that ever again. So anyway, one of the biggest things that you want to try to avoid when you're having pancreatic problems is fat. Stay away from fat. Fat is the enemy when you have pancreatic issues. Those pancreatic enzymes are what help break down fats in the body. And when we're having pancreatic issues, those enzymes aren't coming out properly. Your pancreas is inflamed. It's not creating the proper amount of enzymes, or you've got a blockage and it's not getting them into the digestive system. There's a lot of issues and a lot of reasons why, but fat is the enemy. You want to stay away from fats. We need to eat fats. They're important for us to have. But when you have pancreatic issues, you got to try to stay away from them. You want to try to reduce your fat intake as much as possible. Also, sugar. Sugar is going to cause you a lot of issues as well. You want to stay away from all sugars as much as possible. And that includes, eating a lot of fruit and stuff like that. Even though, you can eat fruit, you just don't want to sit there and eat like a whole plate of it or something like that. I have yogurt every single day almost. A lot of times I eat it for dinner, and I'll put berries on top of my fruit. Now, I do eat non-fat Greek yogurt. It's not sweetened at all. It's just plain non-fat Greek yogurt. But I'll throw some berries on there. And I actually put a little bit of sea salt on top of my yogurt as well. I like that little bit of saltiness. I don't eat much salt at all. And I feel like sometimes I actually need to add a little bit of sodium to my food because I really don't eat much at all. Really, I really don't. And that little bit of salt is actually really nice on that yogurt with the berries. You want to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, but like I said, be careful, especially with your fruits. Things like bananas and stuff like that. Bananas have like 69 grams of carbs in them. So you want to pay attention. Stuff like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, things of that nature. Those are all really good for you. And they're really high in antioxidants, which are really good for you. Whether you have pancreatic problems or not, but the antioxidants are really good. They help with the inflammation in your pancreas as well. Just be careful with, mangoes, bananas, cherries, things like that. They have a lot of carbs. So, you really want to try to stick to like berries and stuff like that more than anything else. And eat a lot of vegetables too. Really pick from the color spectrum on your vegetables. Another thing with the vegetables, though, is that, don't go deep frying your vegetables or anything like that. Steaming your vegetables or a quick saute with just a little bit of like avocado or olive oil or something like that. Do not use seed oils. They are horrible for you. They're going to cause you problems with your pancreas too. Stick to those healthy oils or either real butter. Just don't use a lot of it. You want to make sure that you're eating lean proteins, and if you're eating 3 meals a day, something I don't do, I eat 1 meal a day. I drink 2 protein shakes a day. I drink 1 for breakfast, I drink 1 for lunch, and then I have a meal at nighttime. I will sometimes have a snack through the day. I might have an apple or a handful of blueberries or a peach or something like that, some kind of fruit. But that's it. I'm very strict about my diet. Like I said, 2 protein shakes a day, 1 for lunch, 1 for breakfast, and then I have dinner. And a lot of times my dinner is yogurt. And another thing I do is I have a protein shake that I make. I have that before I go to bed at night, but that has to do with my liver health. You want to make sure, like I said, that you're eating lean proteins, and about a fistful of lean proteins on your plate, about the size of your fist, is what you want to eat. So either fish, chicken without the skin, fish, chicken, stuff like tenderloin or filet mignon. You don't want to eat a lot of red meat. You can have it here and there, but you really don't want to eat stuff like a big fatty ribeye. You want to stick to something like a New York strip or, like I said, filet mignon, something that doesn't have a lot of fat marbled into it. You want to stay away from marbled meats for the most part. You can also have beans, soy products, eggs. Eggs are great for you. They really are. And if you don't want to get the fat from the yolk, remove the yolk and just eat the white. But, another thing too, you could take 5 eggs and separate the whites out of 4 of them and then throw 1 whole egg in, scramble that up, and you've got 1 yolk and you have some nice yellow scrambled eggs. But once again, eggs are great for you. They have a lot of vitamins and minerals in them. They're just a great food product to eat in general, but they're really good for you with having pancreatic problems. And then low-fat Greek yogurt, low-fat cottage cheese, seafood. You want to be careful. You don't want to go eating like raw oysters and stuff like that. Just be careful, especially if you're having pancreatic problems. If you're having liver problems, you really want to be careful with eating shellfish and stuff like that. They can be really dangerous. So just be mindful of that. But once again, also with the cottage cheese, you want to be careful with cottage cheese. Cottage cheese a lot of times is loaded with sodium. I mean, way up there in sodium. So just be mindful. I would get the low sodium or reduced sodium cottage cheese if that's what you're going to eat. But, once again, these foods are great for you. They're high in protein and low in fat. Another thing like kimchi, sauerkraut, fermented foods are great for you. You want to make sure that you're reducing your carbs as much as possible. They can be really hard on the pancreas. And, like I said in the beginning of this video, is that you can end up with, reduction in your endocrine system, and your pancreas controls your insulin levels in your body. And if you're having pancreatic issues, you can almost guarantee that your pancreas is having a hard time producing the correct amount of insulin or secreting the proper amount of insulin. it's going haywire at the moment. So don't overload your pancreas eating a bunch of carbohydrates. It's going to put your pancreas in an overload mode, and it's going to cause problems. Be very mindful, and not to mention, you run a really high risk of getting diabetes if you're having pancreatic problems, especially if you end up with chronic pancreatitis. You get pancreatitis once, you get it again, and the next thing you know, you end up with chronic pancreatitis. Your pancreas starts to shrink on you. It starts to go necrotic. You end up with abscesses and pseudocysts growing on it. Next thing you know, you've got chronic pancreatitis, and you're having serious problems. You're in the hospital every other month or every month having an ERCP done. Trust me, I've been there. You do not want to end up in these places. And just what I'm talking about right here, I mean, all the stuff that you can and can't eat, it really does reduce the amount of food that you can eat. And, it's what my doctor told me a long time ago. He said, you don't live to eat anymore, man. He said, you eat to live. So, you got to be very mindful about the food choices that you make. And that, that's no fun. It sucks. I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys. I love food. I love eating all kinds of stuff. I love pizza. I love cheeseburgers. Pizza and cheeseburgers are probably my two favorite things to eat. Ribs, chicken wings, all that. I love that stuff. Pulled pork. I can't eat any of that stuff anymore. So like I said, make sure you're eating a lot of protein, fist size each meal, steamed vegetables, lots of fruits. Try to stick to berries, stone fruits, and stuff like that. You want to try to eat as much fiber-rich food as possible. You really want to, not as much as possible. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. You want to eat fiber-rich foods. You want to get about 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day, and that's going to help you be regular. But at the same time, the flip side of that coin is that you want to be careful with the amount of fiber that you eat. That's why I said you don't want to eat as much as you can, because if you eat too much fiber, it can cause gastrointestinal problems, and then next thing you know, you've got diarrhea, you can't stop going to the bathroom, you've got stomach aches, gas, all that kind of stuff. So just be careful with the amount of fiber that you eat, but you do need to get some fiber in, about 25 to 30 grams a day. It does depend on each person, your body type, body size, all that kind of stuff, so just be mindful of that. Once again, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds. There is a caveat on the nuts and seeds. We'll get to that. Beans. Let's see. So with the whole grains, just some examples here would be like quinoa, millet, wheat berries, amaranth, oats, farro, brown and black rice, not white rice. White rice basically turns instantly into glucose as soon as you eat it. So you don't want to eat that stuff. You want to eat the brown or the black. It's got a lot of fiber. It's a complex carbohydrate. It takes a long time for your body to break it down. You want to be careful about anything that's like processed, like that's white flour, white rice, any of those types of things. Because when they process those foods, they've gotten rid of all of the like stuff that makes it take a long time to digest. If you're not eating whole grain, and it's been processed, once again, it turns instantly into glucose as soon as you eat it. So like white bread, white rice, any of those things, you eat it, it turns to sugar. So just be careful about that kind of stuff. Eat whole foods. So like I said, black or brown rice, barley, and bulgur. And those are just some ideas of like some whole grains that you can have. For anybody that doesn't, if you don't know any of these, just do a quick look up. I can tell you that like farro is a great grain to eat. It's an ancient grain. I used to cook with it all the time. It's got a nice pop to it. You boil the stuff off. It's great for making risotto. If you like to have risotto, now just be careful. You don't want to go cooking with a ton of cream and all that kind of stuff. But you can make a healthy farro risotto using like either a vegetable stock or a chicken stock or a beef stock or something like that. Making a traditional risotto, with like shallots. You saute the shallots up, saute up the farro, cook that down, and then start adding in your stock very slowly while you're stirring it. You're going to get that creaminess. Now, you're not going to get the same creaminess that you're going to get out of a traditional Warriyo rice that you would use for a traditional risotto, because that's got a high starch content in it. And as you agitate the risotto while you're stirring it, you're releasing those starches in the rice and the Warriyo, which gives it that beautiful creaminess that we all love in our risotto. The farro is going to be a little bit different, but the one thing that I will say, at the very end, as you're finishing off your farro risotto, if that's something that you want to prepare, like I said, add your chicken stock slowly as you're cooking it, and then right at the end, throw in some like shaved Parmesan or like shaved Asiago. Those are hard cheeses. Those are good for you. They don't have a lot of fat in them. Throw those in right at the very end, and it's gonna give you that creaminess that you're looking for. And maybe use something like a little bit of half and half. Finish it off with just a splash of half and half and a little bit of some Asiago or Parmesan or something like that, and you'll get that creaminess that you're looking for. Low-fat dairy is another great one. I eat a lot of dairy. I love dairy. It's something, it agrees with me. I don't have any problems with it. I do stick to low fat on everything that I eat, but low fat milk, low fat yogurt, low fat cheese, low fat kefir. I have kefir every single day. I add kefir into my protein shake that I drink at night. The protein shake that I drink at night, I've made a video on that a long time ago. I called it my ice cream protein shake. I do make it different here and there, but, I'll make it different ways, but it's always got the same ingredients. There's kefir, lemon juice, sea salt, protein powder, of course, apple cider vinegar. I put a lot of different stuff in there. If you haven't seen it, go check that video out. But low-fat buttermilk as well. That's another great one, and especially like if you want to make like some homemade ranch dressing, you could make that with low-fat buttermilk. A little bit of chives and some other things you can throw in there, and it makes for a great ranch dressing, and it's good for you. Buttermilk has it's like a fermented food. It's got a lot of probiotics and stuff in it. So does kefir. Great for your stomach. Foods rich in antioxidants, such as fruits, veggies, herbs, teas, legumes, and stuff like that. So those are all the things that are like really good for you to eat. So what do you want to avoid with these problems? Well, alcohol. You got to stop drinking. If you're ending up with pancreatitis and stuff like that, if you continue to drink, you're continue to aggravate your pancreas. You got to stop drinking. So beer, wine, spirits, liquor, all that stuff, you got to quit, or you're going to keep having pancreatic problems. And I can promise you guys that you do not want to get chronic pancreatitis. If you've ended up with acute, you know how bad it hurts. When you get chronic pancreatitis, it never stops. It's a constant problem. You're waking up in the middle of the night with stomach pain. You're getting up the next morning to go to work, and you end up with some, horrible stomach pain. It's just, it never quits, and it always bothers you at the worst times. You plan on going on vacation. You guys go on vacation, and you're stuck in the room with stomach pain the whole entire time because you decided that you wanted to have a cheeseburger when y'all were going down the interstate, and the only place to stop was, a fast food joint, and you decided, I'm just going to grab a burger. It'll be okay. And the next thing you know, you're paying for it. You do not want to end up with that. You want to stay away from fried foods. They will absolutely wreck your stomach. Spicy foods. Trust me when I tell you, you do not want to eat anything spicy. It will absolutely upset your pancreas. Sodas, you got to be careful with those. Coffee, caffeine can cause problems with your pancreas. Although I drink coffee all the time, I haven't had problems with my pancreas in a while. Knock on wood. Now I still do get, pancreatic pain here and there, but I haven't had like full-blown pancreatitis in a little bit. I'm going to drink my coffee. I mean, unless they tell me I have to stop, I mean, it's like the one thing that I've had and held on to. And, I wasn't a big coffee drinker when I drank alcohol either. I didn't really start drinking coffee until I stopped drinking alcohol. And it's become a love for me. I mean, I love my coffee. Absolutely love my coffee. And did I switch? Maybe. Did I trade off alcohol for coffee? I mean, I'm drinking coffee right now. I've been drinking coffee all day, and it's just, I absolutely love coffee. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who can agree with what I'm talking about. I mean, coffee is just, it's my love. Until the day they tell me I have to stop drinking, I'm not going to. So once again, coffee, high-fat foods. You got to be careful with nuts, seeds, and seed or nut butters too. They are super high in fat. Now, certain nuts are a little bit different. Some nuts like almonds and stuff like that. And you want to be careful about the amount that you eat. It's okay to have a small palmful of pistachios or a small palmful of walnuts or something like that. You don't want to sit down and eat a whole bag of them or a whole can of mixed nuts. That's a lot of fat. It's going to cause you problems. You can have little teeny bits, but just pay attention to certain nuts that are higher in fat than others and how they're cooked. You also want to make sure that you're not eating nuts that are covered in salt. Get the reduced sodium nuts if you're going to get them, or get the plain nuts that don't have any salt on them at all. And I'll guarantee you this too: if you get the plain nuts, you're not going to sit there and eat the whole can. It's just not going to be as appetizing. You're going to have a couple and you're going to be done. When we're eating those like really salty snacks and stuff like that, that's what makes us not stop. Full fat cheeses, you want to stay away from those. Full fat yogurts, creamers, and other dairy products like regular, full fat milks and all that kind of stuff. You'd be surprised how much fat is in that stuff. You want to stay away from desserts, baked goods, all that kind of stuff. Potato chips, French fries. But the baked goods too, those things, cheesecake and all that kind of stuff, or like danishes, donuts, all that stuff is loaded with fat. It's one of those things. I never looked at carbohydrates. I never looked at fat. Ever. I never looked at any of that stuff when I ate food. I never looked at the sodium content. I never looked at the nutrition label until I got sick. After I found out I had diabetes and chronic pancreatitis and all that stuff, and then I was told, avoid these certain things. You only 1,000 milligrams of sodium every day. You don't want to eat more than 40 grams of carbohydrates per meal, all this kind of stuff. I started looking at the backs of the labels of things, and I was completely blown away. I had no idea how much fat was in certain things. I didn't know how much sodium was in certain things. There's sodium just in your soda. And a lot of sodium too. That stuff adds up so quick. You'd be surprised how fast you add up to 1,000 milligrams of sodium, especially if you're eating highly processed foods. And that's another thing too. You really want to stay away from highly processed foods. Number one, they're loaded with fats. They have trans fats in them. They're highly processed. There's tons of sodium in it. All kinds of preservatives that aren't good for your body at all. That stuff's hard on your body. It's hard on your liver. It's hard on your pancreas. It's just hard on our organs in general. When you walk into the grocery store, you want to kind of just try to stick to the outer edges of the grocery store. If you've never heard that before, you don't really want to hang around in the middle of the grocery store down those aisles. All the fresh food, whole foods are all the way around the outer edges of the grocery store. If you start going down those aisles, that's all the processed stuff. That's all the dry storage stuff. It doesn't need to be refrigerated. Stick to the outer edges of the grocery store. That's where your dairy products are going to be. That's where your raw meats are going to be. That's where all your vegetables and fruits are going to be. Stick to the outer edges of the grocery store. don't stick around because also the outer edges of the grocery store, a lot of times where the little deli areas are and the bakeries are, you don't want to eat a lot of white breads, baked bread products, cinnamon rolls, donuts, cupcakes, cakes, all that kind of stuff. Stay away from that. Icing, for any of you guys who don't bake, don't know anything about it, icing, especially like on your cupcakes and cakes and stuff like that stuff's nothing but fat. And I'll guarantee you that if you're going to a grocery store and buying a cake from them, they didn't make it out of buttercream or something like that. What they're making that out of is vegetable shortening for the most part. It's Crisco. It's powdered sugar, Crisco, and food coloring and whatever flavor they want to add to it. So if they're making a vanilla or a chocolate, a chocolate icing, they might add, melted chocolate chips, or they might be adding chocolate powder, or they're adding vanilla extract or whatever. And then it's just basically powdered sugar and fat. Now, if they're using like a buttercream, it's butter and powdered sugar. Icing is basically just that. It's fat and sugar. That's it. It's so bad for you to eat. It's got so much sugar in it and so much fat. It's going to cause you problems with your pancreas. Stay away from that stuff. And especially potato chips, French fries, donuts, all that stuff, just stay away from it. I promise you, it's going to cause you to have pancreatic problems. You want to stay away from avocados, guacamole, that kind of stuff. Avocados are full of fat. You want to stay away from oils, seed oils, spreads, and butters, like I said. I do believe, that if we are going to use something that, to use like real products like butter, don't use margarine and stuff like that. Those are made out of seed oils, hydrogenated oils. That stuff is horrible for you. Stick to real stuff like butter. Just don't use a lot. And once again, stay away from seed oils. That stuff's horrible. It's horrible for your body. It's horrible for your liver. It's just horrible for you in general. Stay away from processed meats, lunch meats, all that stuff. Marbled meats, like head cheese or, like olive loaf, all that kind of stuff. Just stay away from it. I would stay away from any processed meats in general. I wouldn't eat deli meat and all that kind of stuff. You do whatever you'd like. But I would just stay away from the stuff's high in nitrates. There's so many chemicals and stuff that are in those foods, and they're so bad for you. And there's so much sodium in them too. I would stay away from it. Eat real meat. If if you want to have a chicken sandwich, or take some chicken, bake it off in the oven, and slice it thin, and you can make your own like sandwich meats. You can also you can take like a chicken breast. You can take multiple chicken breasts, cut all the fat off, trim off your chicken breast, or chicken thighs, whichever one you prefer. I like chicken thighs better. I think they have more flavor. But you can take like chicken thighs or chicken breasts, remove all the fat, and then cut them into chunks. Put it in a food processor, and then add like an egg and a little bit of like herbs, a little salt, a little pepper, and then puree it. Put it in that food processor and blend it until you end up with basically like a like a creamy consistency. And then take that, put it into like a form, and then bake that off in the oven. And I would probably bake it off in a water bath or something like that. But you bake that off in the oven, let that cool. You got your own homemade chicken meat. You can put that on a meat slicer or slice it by hand. You've got your own deli meat. There's no preservatives, anything like that in it, and it's good for you. It's just one idea right there, for making your own deli meat at home or whatever. Once again, you want to stay away from those marbled meats, and you want to stay away from like stuff like bacon, breakfast sausage, all that kind of stuff's got so much fat in it. So another thing too, what should you do if you do end up with pancreatitis? Like after the fact. What should you do in order to get better? Well, one of the biggest things is going to be rest. And I know for a lot of us, we like to stay busy. We've got all kinds of things that we want to do. if you end up with pancreatitis, you need to rest. You're going to have to give your body a chance to get better and heal. You need to give your pancreas a chance to heal. You just got to rest. It's going to take you a while to feel better. You need to drink fluids. You got to try and eat as well. As hard as it's going to be, your body's going to need minerals, nutrients, and energy. But try to eat as healthy as you possibly can. Steamed vegetables, proteins. Don't eat too much at once. Eat smaller meals more frequently throughout the day. It's going to really help your pancreas out a lot, because if you're sitting down, I'm gonna eat 3 meals a day, and you're eating 3 big meals, you're gonna overload your pancreas, and you're gonna end up with a stomach ache every time you eat. So instead of eating 3 big meals, maybe eat 5 small little things a day, and make your plate smaller. One of the things that you can do is get a small plate. Don't put your food on this humongous dinner plate. It's not going to look full enough. You're going to want to add more food. It's just psychologically, we're going to want to fill our plate up. Get a small plate. Use that to plate your food on, and you're going to find yourself eating smaller meals each time. But try to eat multiple small meals throughout the day. It's just going to help you so much more. It's going to benefit you. Trust me when I tell you. Protein shakes are a big one. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like them, stuff like that, because they are processed, and I get that. There are protein powders and stuff like that you get. There's vegan protein powders. There's ones that are made with like chickpeas or peas. Whatever protein powder, whatever you want to do, but I think protein shakes are great. They're easy to digest, especially, and I'm not saying that you need to go drink a protein shakes for the rest of your life every single day. What I'm saying is that after you get home from the hospital, after your bout of pancreatitis, you want to give your body a chance to heal, but you need to make sure that you're getting protein in. Those protein shakes are great because they're so easy to digest. You're getting 30 grams or whatever of protein with each one. They've got, most of them have like 25 vitamins and minerals in them. It's just great to supplement with, and it's going to help you along so much better. I drink protein shakes every single day. It's just something I've incorporated into my diet because I do have so many problems with eating food. But once again, I'm not saying that is something that you should do every single day for the rest of your life. You do whatever you want to do. It's your body, it's your life, but I think they're great for after you get home from the hospital, just until your pancreas gets to where you can start to handle more foods. And I would slowly incorporate things back into your diet. Don't go, full ham on it. If you decide that you want to try to have, let's say chicken wings or something like that, and you go and you try to cook them healthy, you bake them off in the oven, or you throw them in an air fryer, or you grill them, or you smoke them, or something like that. And, I really wouldn't suggest eating chicken wings because they got skin on them and they're high in fat and all that stuff. But, do whatever you want to do. But I'm just using this for an example. If that's something that you want to start to incorporate back in your diet, start off slow. Don't go and sit down to eat a whole plate of wings. Don't go to your local wing restaurant and get 2 dozen wings and sit down and try to eat them all. No. Have some wings and maybe eat 2 or 3 of them, and then give yourself an hour or so and see how you feel after that. Just don't go full in on stuff like that until you know how your body's going to react to it. Simple dishes. Don't put a ton of spices and all this kind of stuff on your food. You want to kind of stay kind of bland, especially in the beginning. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't put a lot of spicy stuff in there. Don't use a lot of peppers and hot sauces and a whole bunch of, ketchup and all this kind of stuff. Keep it really simple. Lightly seasoned, just a little salt and pepper in the beginning, and make sure that you're trying to take like supplements and vitamins too. Supplement in what you're not getting. I just think it's really important to make sure that we're getting all of our vitamins and minerals and all that kind of stuff. It's really important, especially if you want to start feeling better. But But anyway, guys, I think that's just about it. You know, if you take anything away from this video at all, is that one, pancreatitis is something that you do not want to end up with. I can just tell you that, just flat out right now. It's horrible. And for anybody out there that's experienced it, and I know I'm going to get some of those guys in here that have been around forever, you know, throw in the comments and let people know how bad pancreatitis is, because it's horrible. It's just something you do not want to end up with. You know, quitting drinking now, please speak with a doctor first, because there can be some serious things that can happen on the back end if you decide to stop drinking abruptly. It can be life-threatening. You end up with seizures and all kinds of stuff. Just please be careful. Please speak with a doctor. It's all going to depend on how long, the amount of alcohol that you drank, all that kind of stuff, and what they're going to want to do. So just speak with the doctor first, find out what they want to do, and if they tell you, they give you the go-ahead, then go ahead and give it a shot. It's not going to be comfortable in the beginning, but stopping drinking now can greatly reduce the risk of you ending up with pancreatitis, ending up with liver disease, ending up with an enlarged spleen, ending up with all kinds of health problems. Guys, I can't tell you enough how much it sucks with these problems that you end up after you've gotten sick from drinking. And the pancreatitis alone is horrible. It really is. It hinders the amount of food, the types of food that you can eat. And like I just went over, you know, you've got to eat low fat, high protein, low carbohydrate, all this kind of stuff. You know, you just can't eat the good foods that you like to eat anymore. And I'm not saying that, you know, that if you don't end up with pancreatitis and you stop drinking, that you should go out and eat Krispy Kreme and McDonald's every single day. That's not what I'm saying. But there's nothing wrong with once a week or once a month or whatever, having a nice jelly-filled donut, or having a cheeseburger, or having some baby back ribs or something like that. You know, you got to treat yourself every once in a while. But it's every once in a while. It's not something you want to sit down and eat all the time, every single day, because that's not good for you either. But at the same time, like I said, you know, you want to be able to be able to enjoy those simple things in life, especially after you've quit drinking. Those are going to be the things that you're going to look forward to. You really are. And those are the things that I don't get to look forward to anymore. I just don't. You know, if I'm going to have, you know, it's my kid's birthday or something like that, I might have a little teeny sliver of a piece of cake or something. But I just can't sit around eating that stuff. And I can't eat the icing. You know, I got to have like a piece of the cake that doesn't have a lot of icing on it and stuff like that. I mean, I can't have a regular piece of cake. I mean, it's just, there's so many things that you can't have anymore. And it's not worth the headache of having it. And not to mention, it's painful. And then you got to go to the hospital. It's just not any fun. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it as far as diet's concerned and things that come along, pancreatitis and all that kind of stuff. And I know today was a really long video, but there was a lot to cover. And I really did want to talk about the causes of pancreatitis and all that kind of stuff as well. I didn't want to just leave all that blank. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today. If you've got any other things you'd like to add as far as like diet that you're on or things that you eat and you've got pancreatic problems, please let me know in the comments. I really would appreciate it. You know, I could add those to my notes, and the next time that I decide to talk about this again, I'll have those for the next time, and I'll be able to add those to the list while I go over them in the next video. So once again, thank you so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. I know, like I said, this video is an hour long, and I know that's pretty long, and it takes a long time for somebody to sit down and watch all of this. So if you stuck around all the way to the end, I really do appreciate you hanging around all the way to the end of this and watching every last part of it. I really do appreciate you. And I think that's it for today, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and hop off of here. So once again, thank you so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. Until tomorrow, I will see you guys then. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I love you guys so much. Bye-bye.